And good evening from here in Maui, where we have just learned that this is now the deadliest wildfire in modern U.S. history. What we know about this tragedy is already unbearable. Nearly 100 dead, more than 2,000 homes and buildings destroyed. This is the overhead view of the sweeping devastation in Lahaina. The governor has been warning that the death toll will go up, and there are still so many residents who escaped the flames but are now searching for their loved ones, and tonight angry at officials and a warning system they say failed them. The scale of the devastating loss, now unprecedented in modern times. The deadliest wildfire in the U.S. in more than 100 years, and that at this early stage, no cause for the fire has been determined.
I happened to be in Chicago the day of the fires and started getting texts and notifications, and came in as we just lost the roof on the greenhouse.
We had 60 to 80-mile-an-hour winds that day. It completely took our roof and just ripped it apart. I mean, like a book, just right down the middle, folded it up.
You lost the roof, so immediately I'm thinking, we're not going to be in production for microgreens for maybe a month.
So just starting the day, dealing with the whole greenhouse cover, I mean, we had so much stuff in this greenhouse growing. It was like a tornado went through here.
And then they said, oh yeah, and we lost our tent, which is where we're doing, in lieu of the pavilion, the farm-to-table dinner events occasionally to raise money.
The morning of the fires, I was supposed to go parasailing on the coast of Lahaina, and I received an email around 5 o'clock in the morning canceling my excursion.
I was actually going to go up to the farm, and there was hurricanes raging that day, and I contacted Zach. I was supposed to get a little tour for my friend, and we were actually told by Zach that we had no opportunity to go up to the farm that day, so we ended up just staying home.
I was teaching, and so yeah, I went in to teach just my classes, like my little fun outlet.
So I looked at the weather and I saw how windy it was. I was supposed to drop off my deposit at my new apartment in the Wahikuli neighborhood in Lahaina, where I had already moved probably half of my belongings.
By the time I had gotten out, 3 hours later, everything, was radically different.
So that was the last that I heard, is that the winds were really, really hard. And then I started getting phone calls from people in Kihei saying, have you heard? Have you heard? There's a huge fire in Lahaina. There's a fire in Kula.
You got to understand, every step of learning what's going on, it escalated. And then I started getting messages from like Tina Carranza and Zach Laidlaw, who have a condo right on Front Street in Lahaina.
I left the farm, I was going down Lahaina, big old gust of smoke coming from Lahaina. I got stuck in traffic. I ended up coming back to the farm, started doing some landscape around the farm. It was around 6:30 where our lead farmer, Dan Radoy, comes up. He's like, Zach, have you been in contact with Tina? No, I haven't. My girlfriend. No, I have not. She's like, oh my God, she evacuated Lahaina. There's a huge fire. It's taken over the town. I'm like, what?
off my building and I was watching power lines go down, we started seeing the smoke. And it actually gave me an opportunity to grab a few items, which I wouldn't have been given that opportunity if I had been at the farm that morning.
So we made the decision as a group to evacuate prior to any governmental instruction. We weren't sure that that would even come.
And the fires were also still burning up country as well. Like, could still see that on my way home as well.
And we drove, you know, a quarter mile up the hill to get a good vantage point of what was going on. And at this point, we saw there were 3 separate fires, all enclosing on us within maybe a mile and a half. And at this point, we both realized that we had no time to go home.
Hey, from Tina, we're evacuating. Can I go to your house in Kaanapali, which as it turned out, was 2,500 feet from where the fire line stopped. I could have easily lost that house.
So I left the farm, I went down to one of Gary's rentals in Kaanapali. That's where Tina was. And the first thing she said to me was, Zach, I don't think we have a house anymore. And I was just like, please don't say that. Like, don't say that. Like, how could you say that, you know? I didn't know the severeness of it. She had to evacuate. She had to take it upon herself to evacuate because there was no warning, there's no sirens. So we slept at Gary's Kaanapali house, knock on the windows, 1 a.m. Evacuate, evacuate, the fire's spreading.
And then the authorities evacuated that neighborhood. And then, you know, in that stair step of escalation, it went from, okay, X thousands, we lost the greenhouse, we could fix it, to now our people are in danger, we don't know what's gonna happen.
And by morning, everything had burned, you know? It was so quick.
Lahaina turned to ash. 80% of Lahaina just ash. And my house being one of them.
People were perishing in their homes. The fire was ripping through that inferno that it was. We didn't know that at the time. It was really probably the next day, you know, that we start seeing from news agencies that were able to get in there.
I was happy that I was safe. But it was extremely stressful.
Because there was standstill traffic, there was no way to exit. People just left their cars and they burned in the streets. You know, I lost my house. I lost 2 separate businesses. I was about to open up a tasting room.
And I really didn't know how to move forward, how to help. I knew that my job was gone. I knew that 130 people that I knew and loved had also lost their livelihood and had lost, you know, their comfort. We were a family there. To not have that place to go to see everybody that I loved and not be able to get there and check on them that was probably the worst part of all of it. Now that I know, losing 2 coworkers is the worst consequence, I think, for me personally. Not that it's all said and done, but now that the dust has settled a little bit, it's gotta be the worst part, the life lost.